Hello everyone and welcome to the channel. I'm Emmanuel, I'm an Airbus A330 pilot, and welcome on our first transatlantic crossing in the iniBuilds Airbus A330. We are flying the Discover Airlines A330 today from Frankfurt over to Tampa, which is about 10 hours and 30 minutes of flight time today. Now, let's go ahead and start having a look into our flight plan, and then we are going to make a decision on the fuel and then get ready for our flight. So we're going to start with the very basics over here, going into SimBrief, and from here let's go ahead and open the PDF document of our briefing and have a look. Starting with the general routing, we are going to depart towards the northwest today and then across Brussels, London, Dublin, out to the Atlantic, and then we'll fly just north of Newfoundland and finally along the US coast, southbound all the way down to Florida. Looking into the significant weather chart, we are going to cross a jet stream just over the Atlantic, which comes with that note number 3, which gives us turbulence up to flight level 390. Now the A330 can climb pretty high, but we'll probably not be able to get around that, so chances are we will encounter some turbulence here. Continuing along the flight, we've got the next turbulence area up to flight level 410 over here once we reach Canadian airspace, and finally going into US airspace. We've got some isolated thunderstorms down here with a jet stream with a core in flight level 430, so chances are it's probably going to be a rather turbulent flight today, which might not become too pleasant for our passengers, but looking at these weather charts, there is just nothing we can do about it. Now, having a look into the more localized weather, Frankfurt is offering good weather conditions for the time being, reporting K. Now, looking outside, we do have a couple clouds, but they may just be above 5,000, therefore giving us K readings. Looking further down into our destination airport Tampa, we have generally good weather conditions forecast over there with chances for a southerly landing today. Now, finally, let's move on to our alternates, where we've got Fort Myers, Southwest Florida International as primary alternate today, which overall has pretty good weather conditions as well. Now, all of that out of the way, let's go up to our flight plan and have a general look at what our dispatch has planned for us. So we are planned initially in level 340, but pretty soon after we are going to climb to flight level 360, cross the North Atlantic in 370, and then finally 380 for most of the flight over, until we eventually step up to flight level 400 just about an hour or two prior to our arrival in Tampa. Now, moving a little bit further down, let's go ahead and have a look at our fuel figures. So the general idea over here is 67.5 tons of takeoff fuel plus 408 kilos taxi fuel, so roughly 68 tons. Couple of things for us to take into consideration, though. We might be flying a little bit lower due to all the turbulence, or we might just be a little bit heavier due to last minute payload additions. Now, both of those taken into account, zero fuel weight correction plus 1000 kilos means we need 193 kilos more, and if we do fly 2000 below for the entire flight, that would give us an additional burn of 400 kilos. So overall, what we can say over here is, taking everything into account, the fuel seems to be cheap. We are just losing $104 per ton. That can be much, much worse. On my last real-world flight over to the Maldives, you could have added a 0 to there because the fuel is just so expensive over there. Luckily today, though, fuel is rather cheap, so there is not much loss for taking extra. Now, the only thing we have to take into consideration, though, and that is something that you'll find a lot on the A330, is that you will normally be pretty close to your max takeoff weight for a lot of the routes that you are going to fly. So today, the maximum we could take is about 3,000 kilos more, and then we'd be right up at the max takeoff weight. Luckily, though, we don't have all that much reason to take extra. The only thing we could take into consideration, really, is a possible delay. So, it's Frankfurt after all. They are not the very best in terms of punctuality. Therefore, looking into our arrival time, we are expected to land at 21:27 with a scheduled on-block time at 21:40. So, overall, punctuality doesn't seem to be too much of an issue as well today. Now, let's go ahead and make our fuel decision then. Basically, we only have reason to take extra in case we are heavier, or because of the turbulence, which might mean we need to fly a little bit lower. Both of those would be covered if we just take 412 kilos extra over there. So, for this reason, I would say if the planned off block is 68 tons, remember that's takeoff plus taxi, if we just make it 69 tons, we should be more than good to go. Alright, with that out of the way, let's go ahead and put that flight plan away and we can board our Airbus A330. So, let's make our way towards the cockpit, hoping that our textures are gonna load. After all, after you've been outside for a little while, sometimes they do not really load, but looks like we are lucky today. Okay, so let's go ahead and take a seat then, onto the captain's seat of this lovely Airbus A330. First things first, let's go ahead and import our flight into SimBrief and go into the payload manager. Import from SimBrief as well, but the fuel we said we wanted 69 tons, so let's go ahead and select that, and here we go, 69 tons. Okay, apply load, instant loading please, thank you very much. Alright, and with all of that out of the way, let's go ahead and start to prepare our aircraft for the flight. So the engine masters are off, start lever is on, weather radar is off, landing gear lever down, wipers off, the batteries are on already, for that reason we can't really check the voltage over here today. That is fine though, engineering has already done that for us. So, APU fire test is looking good. Then let's go ahead and start up the APU. Airbus does recommend that we don't have passengers on board for more than 20 minutes with the APU off, and I honestly can tell you that the air becomes rather bad rather quickly in the A330 cabin, especially when people are working there, such as cabin crew doing their checks, or maybe catering staff, cleaning staff, you name it. Alright, so let's go ahead and start up the APU, and while that's in progress, we can make sure that our frequencies are tuned. So Frankfurt delivery 122035 would be the one we tune for now. However, let's go ahead and do 1228 over here. VHF 2 1 to 1.5. That way we are already set up for a couple of basics over here. Make sure that we do actually listen to them all, and make sure that the loudspeaker is properly turned up. Half position normally works pretty well. Okay, perfect. So with that now going on, let's go ahead and switch our 3 IRSs into the nav position. Then we can set up the cockpit lights, and, well, normally we would keep the intake lights on for a bit. Now, in the sim, this is what you get when you turn them off. Sometimes it can become a little bit dark on the overhead. Today it's totally fine, so we can actually leave it in that combination. Likewise, we can turn the lights in the front off over here. And, well, then we have already done our initial EFB initialization. Man, a little bit of lag over here. But something else we need to do is the takeoff calculation. So let's go ahead and press sync, select 25 center, which is our expected takeoff runway. And the expected takeoff weight today is going to be 231 tons. Conf 2, air conditioning off, anti-ice off. We don't need to force toga. And calculate. Those are very high speeds. Limitation from runway length, brake energy limited, okay. A little bit different from those limitations we'd normally get in the real world, but let's just keep it at that. So, flex 45 speeds, well, in the real world they're normally closer to 160 than 170, but we'll just keep it at that. Okay, nope, didn't mean to open you. You come back close, please. Alright, here we go. But we are just gonna stick to those speeds for the time being. Okay then, let's see, APU avail, perfect. Then let's turn the APU bleed on so that we do get some air conditioning going. So, aircraft's technical status, if we do a recall over here, there's nothing, that's very good. The status page itself is clear as well, and we don't have any known problems with the aircraft for the time being, so we can accept it for service. Then, oxygen pressure is looking good, hydraulic pressure, or rather hydraulic quantities are looking good. Engine oil quantity, let's go ahead and check that. FADEC ground power on. that is sufficient for flight. Alright, and FADEC power back off again. So, flaps are up and retracted, agree with the lever, the ground spoilers are retracted. Then let's go ahead and release that parking brake and do the brake check. That is looking very good. Man, my camera is a little bit annoying today. I do apologize for that. Okay, so parking brake is set again and the spoilers are retracted. Perfect. Alright, then let's go ahead and turn on the lights and then we can head out for our walk around. So the default spawn point is actually pretty good, as our walk around starts over here on the static ports and they are showing all clear. Then we can go forward to the landing gear, quick check over there, make sure that everything is looking good as it should. And that is looking good indeed, no kind of damages. AOA sensor is looking good. Going further forward, the pitot tubes, TAT probe and the ice detectors are in a very good shape as well. Quick look from the front, no signs of any bird strikes or anything. Then let's move along the side. The oxygen discharge disc is green, and then we can move further forward. Everything okay over here. Again, static ports in a good shape. Moving further along, air intake is okay. And the beacon is okay as well. So the slats and the landing lights are looking good. Let's go ahead and have a look at our engine. The engines on the 330 are so large you can't really reach in there. So you're just looking at the leading edges of the discs, you're looking at the general conditions here. But you can't turn the fan or anything the likes. So quick look beneath the engine. And a quick look at the back of the engine, and then we can move further forward. So in here everything is good as well. You do sometimes find some paper or stuff in the inside the bypass area of the engine. That just happens. Right, what are you doing here, catering? Wrecking our wing. So, getting over here, we need to see that white cross in there, which is visible. Perfect. And here's something wrong. We did turn the lights on, so we should have the nav lights visible. This would, of course, be a maintenance item right now, if we found it like that in the real world. Okay then, let's go forward to the landing gear, and over here, while we walk along the wing, we check the general condition. Landing gear itself, we check the brake wear indicator pins, make sure that they're in a good shape. Then we go forward, check the condition of the tires, check the brake wear indicator pins on front again, and the general overview of the landing gear. Alright, everything looking good. Let's move further backwards. And over here, generally, quick look into the cargo hold if the doors are open. Well then, leading edge of the stabilizer and the vertical stabilizers are all looking good. Again, we do have a trim tank, so make sure that we've got the cross visible over there. And then getting to the back, this is what it should look like. You can see that the left nav light is on, since the nav and logo switch is set to number 1, the others are off. So with that we can say that we had a bug on the right hand wing there, as the green light should definitely have been visible. It is not me who might have forgotten to turn on the switch. Okay, so quick look into the outflow valve, making sure that everything is good over there, no birds nesting and stuff like that. And then we get to the landing gear again. We checked the same thing that we've already checked on the other end side. So let's quickly go ahead and go around this, make sure that our aircraft is in a good shape. No signs of any birds up here, the tires are looking good, undamaged, a little bit dirty over here. The aircraft probably came in from Africa somewhere. Okay, again, the wing is looking good. Over here we have a quick look to see the cross. And then going further forward, again, well, I think we can see the red nav light over here. It should be a lot brighter, a lot brighter, that is for sure. But at least something is illuminated there. We'll just keep it at that. So the leading edge is looking good, and then a look inside the engine. Again, in here you often find things like papers or baggage tags. Basically all the lovely stuff that can come loose from your average piece of baggage that might then be ingested during the taxi. As long as it just goes into the bypass area, that's not too much of a problem. Easy to take out from there, but if it goes into the core, of course, that might smell a little bit bad. Alright, so our walk around is looking good. Then let's head right into the flight deck again. Oh, what's it doing here? Restarting our displays? I think that's a bug. Well, it is a bug. Alright, anyway. So, let's go ahead then and start our flight deck setup. No oral warning today? Here we go. That took a long time. Not quite sure why. Okay, so let's see what the latest weather is now. Let's go ahead and update this. 260 at 15, gust 25. 10 kilometers, showers in the vicinity. Few CBs, 9 degrees, 1024. And here we go. Okay. So, over here everything is looking good. 28th of November today. Then let's move further down. We also want to listen to the interphone. Weather radar calibrated. We'll go 5 degrees up. Weather and turbulence. And then transponder 2000. Altitude on, above is selected. And system number 1 as we're flying from the captain's side today. That's excellent. Well then, let's go into our FMS setup. So, FMS1, A330-300, Trent 700 engines, current database. Delete all those previous waypoints, please. Let's check and remove the scratchpad messages and then onto the init page. So, request flight plan initialization. We're going from Frankfurt to Tampa with the alternate in Fort Myers, Ocean 64, cost index 10, flight level 340. So far, so good. Then, onto the flight plan, towards Oboka. So, Frankfurt departure, 25 center, and then it's going to be the Oboka 3 Ghost departure. Sorry, 4, of course. Oops. Here we go. Alright, insert that, and for Tampa, our expected arrival is the ILS on 19 right for the time being. And for the flight plan, we're expected to arrive via the dates 1 arrival from Banff. Okay, so dates 1, Banff transition, and I don't think we'll need any approach via over here. So, insert. Then let's go ahead and find those departure charts going off Frankfurt. And then charts, departures, 25 center. And we're looking for the Gulf procedures, which we can make a sticky straight away. And here we go. Okay, straight at Delta Foxtrot 234, above 800 feet, maximum 200 knots. Right hand turn, Delta Foxtrot 133, maximum 220 knots, which we have in here. Delta Foxtrot 136, maximum 250 knots, which we also have. And then via Esupi, Marsia, Rafki, Ditam, and Oboka. Now for the initial climb there would be a separate inset available in the real world. Unfortunately, we don't have that in here, but I can tell you it is 5,000 feet. Well, let's go ahead and pre-select that. Okay, excellent. So, then on to the secondaries. So, stored waypoints. First of all, we start with the emergency point, Frankfurt X-ray 5. And that's based upon the extended center line of 25 center on a track of 246 and 25 miles ahead. Alright, store that please. So, secondary, copy. And we go towards fra X5. Here we go. Hold over there at 246 right-hand turns and 1 minute lag time, please. Looking good, and we will return to Frankfurt if we need to for an ILS approach Zulu onto runway 25 center. Here we go. Okay, so let's go into the performance in it real quick, and we can take that 1024, 9 degrees, and what was the wind again? 270 at 14. So this way our secondary is completely set up for everything we need. Okay then, Frankfurt, 25 center, on a radial of 246, and the emergency point fra X5 into here as well. Then let's go on to the vertical revisions. So we don't need you. For Boca, that's looking good. So normally it should give me the step climb page over here. Not 100% sure why this one doesn't do it. The real one would. Well, suppose perhaps this one wants the IRSs to be aligned for that to work. Well, they are aligned already. Or maybe it wants the weights. I don't know. The real one doesn't, but this isn't the real one. Okay, zero fuel 161.9. So 161.9/25. Fuel 69 tons. Taxi 0.5. Okay, quick look into the fuel page down here. So contingency 1.9, alternate 3.2, final reserve 2.4. So 1.9. This is not a format error. 3.2. In the real world you wouldn't need that slash. And 2.4. Okay. Then average wind component, let's have a look. Headwind 41 knots. So H41. Why did it delete the reserve fuel? Okay, I can already tell you that this is not correct. No, we certainly don't need 76 tons here. Not even without the step climbs entered. But nonetheless, let's go ahead and have a quick look if we can access the step page now. Well, here we are. Suppose that's better than nothing. Okay, so the first step is going to be at Bakup, flight level 360. And it's Bakur, not Bakup. So, Bakur/360. Then, flight level 370 at Nebin. Then, we are looking at flight level 380 at Meldi. And last but not least, flight level 400 at Golf Victor Echo. Like that. Alright, now let's go for the winds request. And this might take a little while. The EFOP is still not correct down here, that much I can tell you. But that is quite normal for the A330, so don't worry about that. We will get there, eventually. Once we're in the air, normally it recalculates and then you get better numbers. Now here's something. you should normally have a constant Mach page over here where you can enter your Mach number for the Atlantic crossing. Again, that would give you a little bit more accurate numbers. Unfortunately, in the iniBuilds A330, that page does not seem to be simulated, but hopefully that's something that we can get added later on. Alright, now let's go for the performance. Man, the sim is laggy today. Alright, so takeoff. Conv 2, flex 45. So, 2, 45. And then our takeoff speeds are going to be 163, 170, 173. 163, 170, 173. Okay, next phase we're going to use derated climb 1. Well, and that should be it. So let's have another look. Extra minus 9.1. I don't agree with you. It does seem to have weather data. Okay, we'll just leave it at that. We'll have a look at it in flight. What I can tell you already is that our basic data here is correct. So we'll just leave it at that for now. And you get 1800 for the engine out acceleration. Okay. So then, flight directors are coming on, 5000, constraints plan, VORs, 5000. Okay, and that looks pretty much exactly like the chart, doesn't it? Yep, it definitely does. Okay, perfect. Then we can get rid of the charts again, and let's go ahead and start our departure briefing. Okay, up to you. Thank you very much. So, we're departing Frankfurt off runway 25 center with the Oboka 4 Golf departure, climbing 5,000 feet, MSA 4,300, extra fuel around a ton, so not really all that much. Perfect. Okay. Hotspots for the taxis, anything that's got wheels attached to it, we really gotta have a good look outside, making sure that we don't get overrun by anything. Stop margin for ejected takeoff is only going to be a couple meters. Engine out sits straight at 25 miles, climbing to 5,000 feet, which keeps us above the MSA of 4,300. Frankfurt is our best option in the area. We are above the maximum landing weight, but nonetheless we can come back at any time. If time is available, we are going to reach the overweight landing checklist. If there is no time available, then we can come back with a traffic pattern. You go as far on the checklist as you can. Basically, the only important thing is get the APU running and put the APU bleed on so that we have additional thrust available in case of a go-around. If we are on fire and need to re-land immediately, the ILS runway 25 center is programmed and filled out in the secondary flight plan. Activate that and we come back with a pattern. I don't see any special operations or non-standard operations. Do you have any threats for the departure? No? Okay. So, one last thing on the miscellaneous list here. That's going to be the speed restriction of 220 knots at Delta Foxtrot 133 over here, which by the way is incorrectly listed as 200 in the FMS, but it is 220. Over here we see it correctly. So, our clean speed is going to be 245. That means we'll need to keep the flaps out in the 1 position until we are past Delta Foxtrot 133. Any questions? No? Okay. Cockpit preparation checklist. Gear pins and covers removed. Fuel quantity 68,960 kilogram balanced. Seatbelts on. ADRs. nav. Baroref. QNH 1024. Cockpit preparation checklist complete. And then we can go ahead with the NUT HLA guideline. So, pre-flight. Aircraft acceptance, ETOPS PDSC checked, RBSM equipment checked, clock in GPS mode checked, HF checked, message log erased, ADSC armed, ATC auto position report off, IRS full align performed, ground speeds 0, Not HLA waypoints on OFP versus primary flight plan, and that is indeed something we did not do yet. Okay, hold the checklist there. Let's go ahead and have a look. Alright, so now it would be absolutely lovely if we had our Simbrief flight plan in here. Unfortunately we don't. So let's go over here onto the OFP. Now we've got to check, not track, echo. Okay, starting Nebin, and then we've got 54.5 and 20. So 54.5, 20. Then we have 55.5. Yep, 55.5, 30. And we have 55.30. Then we've got 55.5 north, 40 west. And indeed, that's what we have in here. And then we continue by 54.5 north, 50 west. Which is correct as well. And then on towards Meldy. And that is not all that important anymore. Okay, so that's our waypoints checked, and with that, let's continue the not HLA guideline, please. So, not HLA waypoints on OFP versus primary flight plan cross-checked, wind data entered, not HLA guideline completed. Okay, perfect. So, everything is completed now. Let's go ahead and say hello to our guests. Liebe Gäste, einen wunderschönen guten Morgen aus dem Cockpit. Hier spricht Ihr Kapitän. Mein Name ist Emanuel im Namen der Discover Airlines. Darf ich Sie herzlich an Bord unseres Fluges 64 nach Tampa begrüßen. Die Flugzeit heute berechnet mit etwa 10 Stunden 25 Minuten. Wir erwarten heute einige starke Windfelder auf unserer Route, weshalb wir womöglich einige Turbulenzen durchfliegen werden. Bitten Sie daher angeschnallt zu bleiben, auch wenn die Anschnallzeichen ausgeschaltet sind. Wir melden uns dann im Anflug noch einmal mit den neuesten Wetterinformationen. In der Zwischenzeit lehnen Sie sich zurück und machen Sie es sich gemütlich bei uns an Bord. Ladies and gentlemen, a very good morning from the flight deck. This is your captain speaking. My name is Emanuel. In the name of Discover Airlines, welcome aboard Flight 64 to Tampa. Today's flight time is going to be about 10 hours and 30 minutes, and we do expect some light turbulences every now and then along the route as we are crossing some strong jet streams along our flight. For the time being, please sit back, relax, and enjoy the flight with us, and we do ask you to observe the fasten seatbelt sign, even if it is not turned on, and keep your seatbelt fastened. Thank you very much for your attention. Now sit back, relax, and enjoy the flight with us. Okay, let's go ahead and close that door, please. And then we can already start to close up. So, ground, close, 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 and toggle jetway. That should automatically close the one left. And indeed, they're all closed now. Perfect. So, ground flight, can we disconnect external power? Yes, you can disconnect external power, please. Alright, so that good stuff is done. Let's have a look at the payload then. This is normally the point in time where our load sheet would arrive, so let's go ahead and pretend we have just received the load sheet. So we have zero fuel weight 161.9 and a CG at 26.7. So that's 161.9 slash 26.7, and that's a gross weight of 30.4 with a CG at 27.8. And we have 27.8, indeed, 30.8, 30.4, 500 taxi, yeah. If we round that stuff, that is fine. Alright, our takeoff weight has been calculated with these numbers in mind anyway. But just to be on the safe side here, we now have a trim of 3.6 up. Okay, perfect. So all that good stuff is done. Then let's go ahead and start to prepare the aircraft for pushback, please. You can request the push. Okay, so pushback clearance is given before start checklist. Park and brake. Set. Takeoff speeds and thrust. V1 163, VR 170, V2 173, flex 45. Windows. Closed. Beacon. On before start checklist complete. Ground from flight deck. Go ahead. So please confirm all doors and hatches are closed, ground equipment is removed, and the bypass pin is installed. That's all confirmed. Roger, park and brake released, clear to push, and you tell us when we can start the engines, please. Facing east. Roger, starting the pushback, stand by for engine start. Will you? Here we go. Alright, we're on the way. Kinda interesting that it starts to turn us on its own without any command to do so, but, well, I guess we can live with that. Okay, we're clear of the red area. Flight ground, you're clear to start your engines. Roger, starting in sequence 2, then 1. Come on, you keep moving, please. Hello? Stop. Aft. That's looking better. Okay, engine 1 start. Now comes the challenge of timing the turn correctly. Let's just give it a try, see what's gonna happen. Yeah, I think we're looking rather good for the pushback here. Might even have started the turn a little late. Yeah, we did. And it's laggy. Okay. Doesn't matter. Stop the push. Okay, push completed, set brakes. Park and brake set, and we are starting engine 2. Clear 2. Okay, that's a good start on 1. Engine 2 start. So, engine starts always do take a little bit of time in the A330. That's normal, you have rather large engines slapped onto those wings. Okay, progressing fine by the looks of it. We have 2 good engine starts. You are clear to disconnect. Show me the pin on the left side, please, and have a good day. Bye-bye. Okay, looking good. And avail. So, 3.8, that looks about right. Remember, the aircraft does have auto trim. After start checklist. Anti-ice, off, ecom status, checked, pitch trim, 27.8%, rudder trim, neutral, after start checklist complete. Flight control check, please. Full up, full down. Neutral. Full left. Full right. Neutral. Rudder. Full left. Full right. Neutral. Okay. Clear right side. Clear left side. Park and brake released. Let's go. So the A330 normally rolls on idle even at max takeoff weight, so it should start to move on its own now. Looks like we do need a little bit of power though. You wouldn't need that in the real world. Even at max takeoff weight it rolls just fine. Okay. Oh, hello, Jetway. So, brake check. Pressure 0. And I don't have any changes to the briefing. Just waiting for the cabin then. Clear on the right side. No vehicles moving over here. That's most important. I'm keeping the airplane slow right now because the holding point is just over there and we don't have the cabin ready signal just yet. Okay, the left side is clear, the right side is clear. Then let's move straight ahead to the holding point and then we'll stop the aircraft over there. And here we go, cabin ready. Taxi checklist please. Flight controls, checked. Flap setting, conv 2, radar and predictive wind shear, on and auto, engine start selector, norm, ECA memo, takeoff no blue, taxi checklist complete. Alright, and with that we are cleared for takeoff, runway 25 center. The wind 240, correction 250 at 17. Cabin crew, prepare for departure. Lineup checklist. Takeoff runway, 25 left, full length, TCAS, TARA, PAX 1 and 2. Off, lineup checklist complete. So, a little bit of precipitation over there in the departure sector, which we can see on the weather radar as well, but it's all green, so nothing to worry about. Are you ready? Take off. Manflex 45, SAS runway, auto thrust blue. Thrust set. .100 knots, checked. Fairly high takeoff speeds. The aircraft does take a little while to accelerate along the runway. That is quite normal and realistic. Rotate. Positive climb. Gear up. Nav. Checked. Interesting pitching behavior here. We should need 15 degrees. Okay, flaps 1. Speed checked. Thrust declimb 1, climb auto thrust. So, passing 200 knots, the flaps retract automatically. Looking good. Just gotta love the view outside of Frankfurt. Okay, flap 0, speed checked. Flap 0. So, in typical A330 fashion, the green dot speed is almost at 250 knots, but even at max takeoff weight, it will not go above it. So, you will never have problems with the 250 below 100 restriction. That's one of the good things about this aircraft. Okay, engine anti-ice on. And engine anti-ice is on. Okay, beautiful. So, let's climb to flight level 130. No after takeoff checklist, just like on the A320. Rate of climb around 2,000 feet a minute. That's quite alright. Pretty much exactly what the real airplane would give you. Well, and with that, we're up and on the way to Florida. I am looking forward to the 24 degrees over there. I am very much looking forward to those. Okay, is that standard? Standard cross-check, passing flight level 49. Now, checked. Okay then, the autopilot can do the rest just as well. AP1. Well, and here we are, up and on the way. So the rate of climb really isn't that great, but that's completely normal. That's just how the A330 flies. Nothing to worry about. And finally it is getting a little bit brighter, which means we are approaching the top of the clouds. Let's have a quick look at the weather radar, see if there's anything else coming up. But it looks pretty clear. Wonderful. Okay, 2 degrees. The engine anti-ice will definitely stay on for the time being. We can keep the D-rate, it's not particularly turbulent over here. We could remove the climb D-rate, of course, if we wanted to expedite the climb, but I don't see any reason for that. Maybe in the higher levels, but for the time being, we are absolutely fine. So, finally getting on top, seeing the sun, one of the beautiful sides of the job. And now we've seen the sun, let's go ahead and get the visors down. Thank you very much. Always one of the first things you do. Here we go. Okay, let's see if we can get any good shortcuts over here. Tornu is one that they give you rather often, but I think we're a little bit too low for that for the time being. Once we're a little bit higher, we'll probably get that. Okay, lovely. We're getting out of the clouds finally. Now, quick check. Are the brightness levels all the way up? Yes, they are. Okay. Well, then the displays are just a little hard to read, which is actually, well, yeah, we can call that a feature. Of course, in the real one, they are pretty dark as well. So this is actually quite cool. Imagine this level of brightness, but now you put a sunglass on. Makes it really hard to read the displays. Okay, 10,000. Engine anti-ice off. And... well, I think we can actually release our passengers. Here we go. So, clear and copy, please. Okay, clear that. Clear that. There is nothing on the RATNAV. Secondary, copy active. Progress. So, optimum 352, cruise in 340, maximum 366. Well, I think we can actually go to level 360 straight away. We don't need to stop in 340. That spares us the first step climb. I think that's a good plan. We'll take flight level 360 as initial cruising level, which is actually something you see fairly often in the A330s. So, alt cruise, flight level 360 blue, new cruise alt, flight level 360. It should say 36,000 down here, by the way, not flight level 360, but that's just a small thing. I'm German, I need to complain about something. Remember that. You will hear me say that rather often. Okay, so we're up in the air. Now, let's go ahead and get those sunshades down, because the clouds are normally really blinding. And then we can start a little bit of the long-haul FMS work. So, first things first, let's take the shortcut. We wanted to go direct to Tornu. And here we go. Tornu, direct to insert. So, long straight line, that's exactly how we like it. Weather radar can be turned down a little bit now. Let's just take -1 already, that's roughly the level we'll need in cruise as well. Okay, and then let's move on to the important FMS work here. So, we are going to enter the North Atlantic at Nebin, which we reach at 0130. It's now 2317, so we would now put a time marker in here at exactly 0 UTC. By the way, it is worth to mention that the times you see over here are not the actual times we've selected in the simulator, but the times you see over here are the real times at which I'm recording these. That's unfortunately how it works in FS24. I do hope they are eventually gonna fix that though. Arrival at 10:12 UTC, which is quite good. Okay, well, so normally I would now insert a time marker, so 2359. Unfortunately, not in database. So you can see the iniBuilds currently does not support those. However, something that it does support that we can already enter is our North Atlantic points. So let's go ahead, new waypoint, and we need the ETOPS points now. Now the ini has a little bug there, as we figured out in our first flight video with it. And that's that it doesn't know about the... or that it can't handle the proper names of those ETOPS points yet. So we gotta go ahead and figure out some custom names. So I'll just go with entry 1 and exit 1, because hey. So entry 1. No. Let me guess, it only takes 5 letters. Enter 1. That's gotta do then. And that's gonna be north 5436.4. And the west coordinate is gonna be 2045.2. Like that. Okay, insert store. Then new waypoint. And this is gonna be the equal time point between Shannon and Gander. So that's gonna be Shannon, Gander. And again, it doesn't know them. That is annoying. Okay, ETP01. In the real world, we would name it based on the IATA codes of the airports in question, but okay. Gotta live with that. So that's gonna be 5534.9. And the west coordinate is going to be 032 45.8. Alright, and store that. And then last but not least, let's go with exit 1. Normally we'd call that EXP1, but we'll just keep it at that. So that's going to be 5448.3. And the west coordinate of that is going to be 4743.3. Okay, and store. Now let's go on to the fixed info page. Entry 1. ETP01. And exit 1. Alright. So that's our ETOPS points entered then. Let's go on to the plan page and have a look to make sure that we entered all that good stuff correctly. So, scroll, scroll, scroll. Let's go ahead and find our North Atlantic. So, here we go. Back up. And then, shortly after 20 west, we've got the entry point number 1. Then we've got our ETP just past 30 west. And last but not least, we've got the exit just prior to 50 west, which is all very good. Okay, so the points are entered correctly. They are located exactly along the route. That is the most important thing here. Now, there are a couple of checks that we still got to do, which I suppose we could just go ahead and start just now. First of all, though, let me take a quick screenshot for a bug report, because normally we should see a little bit more information on the nav display here. Most importantly, it should show you the track and the distance to the next waypoint, which is fairly useful stuff, because we normally use that in order to do the track distance check of the North Atlantic waypoints that we need to do. Now, that check is normally done at a little bit later point in time. I do have to admit that, because we normally do it once the North Atlantic clearance is received, but since we don't have ATC online, why not just do it right now anyway? Of course, at this point, we'd normally rather be dealing with stuff like typing the North Atlantic clearance into the ACAS already. So that would be under ATSU. Unfortunately, over here, the entire AOC menu is not simulated. So, unfortunately, we just have to live with it like that. In any case, what we can lock over here on the OE status is to take a look at the out time and the off time. Even though this was definitely longer than 4 minutes in between the pushback and the takeoff. Even if we just have 25 Senna in Frankfurt parking at the Charlie gates, you know, it's normally like 10 minutes of taxi time or so. So this is a little bit ambiguous at the time. Anyway, let's go ahead and do the track distance check, because why not? Now, the track distance check is done so that we can absolutely verify that the North Atlantic waypoints are absolutely correct. So let's go ahead and turn on the North Ref True. And then from Nebin towards 54.5 north, 20 west. Track 290, 186 miles. And in here we have track 290, 186 miles. Perfect. So then we fly on towards 55.5 north, 30 west. Track 283, 349 miles. And we have 283, 349 miles. Moving on to 43.5 north, 50 west. That's 264 degrees, 349 miles. And we have 274,339. That's 10 miles difference, that shouldn't be. So from 30 to 40. We've got 30 over here. 40 down here. 274, 340 miles. 274, 339. Good enough. Okay, thereafter, from 40 to 50 west. It's track 264, 349 miles. And we have 264, 349 miles. And last but not least, from 50 west towards Meldy, track 247, 250 miles. And we have 247, 249 miles. Close enough. Perfect. So north reference can go back to magnetic. And that's basically all we need for the time being. So, I'm just wondering now, why are my step points not included over here anymore? Step outs. They're still here. I suppose we can delete the first one. Oh, and that removes a little bit more. Interesting. That's not how the real one works. Anyway, let's try to re-enter that. And I'm wondering why there is... Yeah, that's what it should look like. Okay, so let's go back to the top. So... I will ignore that 370 over here for the time. Let's go to Meldy 380. So, Meldy 380. And then last but not least, we have Golf Victor Echo 400. Alright. Normally this would result in a temporary flight plan that we need to insert. But just to be on the safe side here, let's quickly check if the step points have been added again. Yeah, here they are. Okay, perfect. So, last but not least, winds. Normally they should have the correct winds in here, but let's, just for the sake of it, go ahead and request them once more. Because by now, we should see a more accurate EFOP. Now, it definitely shouldn't be that low anymore. On the ground, that happens, that's normal. But in the air, it shouldn't. Okay, to be entirely fair, especially when the aircraft is transferring fuel, like it is right now. So you can see the trim tank transfer message over here, and it's transferring fuel into the trim tank in order to keep the center of gravity within certain limits. Normally it's looking to go to about 36-38% if it can. If the general trim state of the aircraft, of course, is too nose heavy, then it probably can't reach that. But normally it targets 36 to 38% in cruise. And when it's transferring that fuel, you will often notice that fuel is going to go missing from the gauge. So when fuel is transferred and you look at the fuel used plus the fuel on board, which right now we've got about 4 tons, 65 on board, which makes 69, which is what we've loaded on the ground, you might notice like a ton of fuel that just goes missing, which makes it look like a fuel leak, which by the way is something really neat for type rating examiners to check you on. They assume you don't know that, and therefore they just see if you do your fuel check correctly, and if you eventually come up with, Captain, we're missing a ton of fuel. Nope, it's not a bug, it would be a feature. That is indeed normal on the A330. Just like on almost any other wide-body aircraft, by the way. Okay. Another cool feature, by the way, is that the aircraft can use the fuel transfer in order to balance the tanks. So right now, where we've got a little bit less fuel on the left-hand side, it would only transfer fuel from the right side until they're equal again, and only then it would start to continue transferring from both tanks. Now, in the theory, that system works really well. In practice, however, yeah, mostly. Sometimes it can actually create an imbalance as well. It's not a perfect system. However, we can nicely see how the center of gravity is slowly creeping aft, since more and more fuel is being transferred into the aft tank. Okay, rate of climb now 800 feet a minute. we could start to think about removing the climb derate right now, but we've got 10 hours to fly, so if it doesn't climb that fast, that is not really much to worry about. This is actually quite normal on the A330. 30-35 minutes is what you'll need to reach cruising level. Now let's go ahead and have a look in the plan and see if they've got Tornu in here. Doesn't look like it. Oh yeah, here it is. Tornu, 24 minutes, and we should have 60.5 on board. So still gotta fly a little bit towards Tornu, but if we have a look down here, 64.3 is expected. And getting there at 23:31, so in about a minute. So 24 minutes is accurate. However, we do have quite a bit of extra fuel, which makes it even more interesting that the EFOP is in the amber area. But we'll just ignore that for the time being. I'm fairly sure we can make it, let's say, with a lot more than what's written down there. Okay, rate of climb now 700 feet a minute. I tell you what, let's go full climb thrust. So, thrust climb. And the engines are running up to maximum thrust. And look at that. All of a sudden we are climbing quite a bit better. Maybe even a little bit too good. Normally when you have like 700 feet a minute rate of climb in the D-rate, you delete the D-rate, you go to about 1,000 or so. So you gain maybe 300 to 400 feet a minute. Right now, 500 is okay under certain circumstances. 600 as we had it before is maybe a bit much. So now 1,100 feet a minute rate of climb. That's looking more believable. Okay, so I think from here on we now go ahead and start the standard long haul stuff. So number one, get the table out and get yourself something nice to eat and to drink. And then we'd go ahead with the standard stuff. So checking en route weather, checking en route NOTAMs, preparing for an approach in case we need to make an immediate diversion. So along the route for the time being, we would have, for example, London Heathrow as one of the next airports. So it'd go data, equi time point. Unfortunately, this is not simulated at the time. But you'd go equal time point and then enter ETPs along the route in order to keep yourself up to date with what's going on. So something worth mentioning is the optimum level down here, 353 for the time being. Now, in the real world, it doesn't show you hundreds, it only shows you steps of 500, so 350, 355, 360, and so on. So right now it would probably show flight level 355 as optimum, with a maximum at 368. That is accurate to the hundreds. So we would definitely have gone for flight level 360 here, just like we are doing in the simulator for the time being. Okay, well that's a good rate of climb. But the headwind is increasing. Used to be like 80 knots, now it's 96. That's why we're getting the good rate of climb. Wait for it. If the wind dies off, you are just gonna level off. The A330 really doesn't have too much extra climb performance available. Now the wind is steady. Now the rate of climb is dropping again. That's exactly normal. That's how the aircraft behaves. One of the good things about the, let's call it, mediocre rate of climb in the A330 is that by the time you reach your cruising altitude and once you've finished the paperwork and stuff, you are normally 40 minutes into the flight. So time really flies in the most literal sense in here. Let's go ahead and have a quick look outside, because why not, huh? Well, because the textures aren't loading. Okay, that's an argument. I do accept that. Like that, it looks much better, doesn't it? If only I hadn't said anything. Oh well. In any case, we're about to reach our original top of climb, 340, so we might just quickly look into here. So it's at 23 minutes to the top of climb and 60.6 tons of fuel. And we have 26 minutes, 63.9, so roughly 64. We took 1,000 kilos extra, so we still have saved 2,000 kilos of fuel in comparison with the Simbrief flight plan. Now, on the real aircraft, normally when you reach cruising altitude, you're at about 5,000 to 6,000 kilograms fuel used. So looking down here, we're at 5,000 now, so I tend to say this is quite okay the way it is. Well, 600 feet a minute, as I mentioned, it does take a little while to get up to cruising level. Okay though, let's go ahead and have a quick look over the rest of the panel. So everything in here is looking good. Temperatures are looking good down here as well. Normally passengers do like a little bit more, so let's just turn that up a notch or two. That's probably a little bit better here. Okay, so quick check over the ECAM, making sure that everything's normal. The vibration over here is a little bit high, but it's not too shabby. Okay, for the rest of it, the generator load is probably a little bit low here. Normally you're in the region 23-25%-ish. So 14 and 20 is a little bit low. So, cabin temperatures are slowly coming up as we've ordered the aircraft to do. That is very good. Brakes are really cool already, but we didn't really do much braking during the taxi anyway, so that's quite alright. And still transferring fuel, going to about 5,000 kilos here in the trim tank. And we can nicely see the center of gravity still going further aft, 31.2 already, and as mentioned, it would go all the way to 36 to 38%-ish. And then during the flight, as we are slowly burning off fuel, it would gradually pump it around so that the center of gravity stays close towards the optimum. Something that I do really like, by the way, is how you can see that the hydraulic pressures aren't exactly 3000 psi, as the manual would tell you, but that they actually slightly vary over here. That's pretty cool. Because that's exactly what they do in the real aircraft. They are never perfect. Okay, we're about to reach our cruising level. And yeah, half an hour in the air already. 29:42. Okay, anyway, once we've leveled off, well, actually, even before we level off, let's go fly direct to Summum. That is something that you could definitely expect here. So, direct to Summum, insert, and off we go. Okay, come on, you can do it. You can reach 360. Mach al Cruise Star, here we are, half an hour in the air. All cruise. Okay, so for the fuel check, well, Galdo would actually have been quite good, so let's go ahead and add that again. Destination EFOP below min, that's checked, and that should be accompanied with an amber destination fuel on board ECAM message, normally. Destination EFOP 0. Well, I don't quite agree with you on that one, my friend. So, managed speed 0.8. Maybe a little bit slow. Normally it would go like 8.1 or so. I mean, this looks quite okay, 8.1. In any case, what we can do is just erase that cost index a little bit. So, let's try 30.81. That's looking perfect. We'll go with that. 4,000 miles to the top of descent. Normally it should tell you the distance to the next step climb over here. So this is probably, I don't know, is that A320 logic? Wouldn't the A320 tell you the distance to the step as well? Not 100% sure, to be honest. Okay, so next alternate is going to be Heathrow 27 left. Let's go ahead and enter that down here. And that's that. Okay, let's go ahead and work ahead a little bit, and we can read the next part of the NUT HLA guideline. So, prior to oceanic entry, nav accuracy check, and we didn't get any messages here. We do have GPS primary, and the estimated accuracy is pretty good. So, that's checked. IVSM, altimeter and equipment, 360, 360, 360, looking good. And something that some colleagues do is that they actually check the reading of the ADR3 by selecting it down here on the air data switching. However, that is expressively something that is not part of the SOP, that those colleagues just, do on their own. So always make sure that you don't select the side on which the autopilot is on. So air data, FO13, now look over there, okay, 360. Again, that's not official Airbus procedure. I think it used to be in the past, because especially those colleagues who are flying the plane for 30 years already, those are doing these checks extensively. In any case, that's IVSM, altimeter and equipment checked, ADS CPDLC log on performed, oceanic clearance obtained, FMS cross-checked, nav log is modified as needed, oceanic clearance recorded, and then for the crossing we'd go onto the north reference true, but that's gonna happen only just before we actually enter the NAT. Oceanic waypoint cross-check is already performed, alternate airports weather and NOTAMs checked, ETPs decided and set, and that is the checklist complete down to prior oceanic entry. Alright, so let's just go ahead, and we want a Galzo for the fuel check, so let's bring that back up. That's going to be down on the flight plan page, fix info, should have free one here, Galzo. A beam? Not allowed. Huh, that's a pity. Okay, well, in any case, that's Galzo over here, so once we're a beam, we are just gonna run that fuel check on our own. And that is going to be fine. Alright then, guys, so that's pretty much everything we would have done to this point. Now, let's go ahead and fast forward this a little bit so that it doesn't get too boring for you as we are flying along. So now, sit back, relax, and enjoy the flight with us. Alright, we're approaching Teufel, and from here we are flying towards Banff, where we are going to enter the arrival into Tampa. 9 hours and 50 in the air, and we have another around half an hour, or, well, that forecast doesn't seem right. 1 hour to go for 250 miles? No, that's not correct. Ignore that then. No, we have around 45 minutes-ish to go to our destination Tampa. Let's go ahead and start having a look at the weather, and most importantly, since it's just white over white outside, let's get those sunshades down. Something that you will really notice when flying, especially Airbus aircraft, since they are rather dark inside, is that when you're looking outside, you've just got those incredibly bright clouds outside, and they can be really blinding, like we can see right now. In the real world with the sun over there, you wouldn't see anything inside now. Luckily for us though, we do have the sunshades in here, and you can really darken down the A330 cockpit very, very well. Something that we do, well, I'd say 99.5% of the time. Also, really beautiful look outside. I do really like that Discover livery. I think they've got some pretty nice colors in there. Alright, for the time being, let's go ahead and start working on our arrival. So, Tampa, let's update the latest weather. We've got 18088, few clouds, 3000 broken, level 250, 24 degrees, 2994. Okay, 2994, here we are. And the same on the standby as well. Perfect. So, overall, very good weather conditions. It is going to be an approach onto runway 19 right then. Let's go ahead and find some charts for this. So you go back and back again. So, we are looking at KTPA, Tampa International, and then charts, arrivals, 19 right. Now let's give it a little while to load this. Will you? Pretty please? Let's see, are the FAA charts available? No. Interesting. Well, we'll give it a little while. In the meantime, I just want to play a little bit with it. So let's do that one more time. Tampa, charts. Interesting. Maybe a temporary server outage? I'm not sure. But the FAA charts don't seem to work either. Anything else seems to work over here though, so that is a little bit strange. Well, we'll try again a little bit later. For now, let's go ahead and start entering our arrival data. And I have a feeling we can slowly go ahead and turn the lights on over here so that we can see a little bit better. Here we go. Okay. So, let's have a look at what we actually have in our arrival here. Alright, why does it tell me that it can't do the restriction at Iqbal when there is no previous restriction ahead? Well, that is strange. Look at that. It's not predicting anything here. Yeah, that's definitely not what it's supposed to do. Definitely not. Okay, well, tell you what, we are just gonna leave this untouched for the time being then. Oh, step climb. Right before the runway. Well, no. Let's see if we can fix this over here. Apparently not. Because it doesn't let us access the step page anymore. Okay, I just hope our VNAV is gonna work. Let's see. The top of descent is there. It would really be a pity if we do a 10.5-hour flight for VNAV to fail. Especially since it did work on any of the previous flights we did, but okay. That would be typical once again. I just want to see if charts work anywhere else. But it doesn't look like it. Okay. Ah well, we'll leave it at that. Okay, well, we don't need anything in the RATNAV page. Then we have KTPA19 right. For the performance, that's looking good. That's 0.80294. Yeah, seems about right to me. Okay, for the approach page, let's go ahead and take the latest weather here. Tampa, weather. Okay, QNH 2994. Temperature 24, very nice, and the wind 180 at 8. Okay, 18,000 transition altitude is correct. We'll have a look into the approach speed in a moment. For the minimum, it would be lovely to have a chart available now. This is really too bad at the moment. Okay, doesn't matter though. I am gonna use my charts on my iPad for that. Sorry that I can't really show you them. I'm afraid that's just what we'll have to live with. In any case, let's have a look over here already. Engine out altitude also needs to be adjusted. Then we can just about start entering stuff from here as well. Okay. So, Tampa 19 right, ILS chart. The minimum on that one is 230. And the MSA 2700. Like that. Alright, 12 minutes extra fuel, very good. Even though then the EFOB should definitely not show amber like that. Well, we'll keep it at that. Right, secondary, copy active, and that's that for now. Okay, so we'll just leave that stuff as it is then for the time being. In general, what we can say, the landing runway is 3,353 meters long. If we aim to vacate at Whiskey 4 or Whiskey 3, we have a rather short taxi. For that reason, I am going to use config full over here. Auto brakes low. And that should be everything we need here. Okay, perfect. So that's a setup completed. Then let's say bye-bye to our passengers. Liebe Gäste aus dem Cockpit, Ihr Kapitän, wir werden in Kürze unseren Sinkflug in Richtung Tampa starten. Die verbleibende Flugzeit noch circa 40 Minuten, was bedeutet, dass wir die Anschnallzeichen in Kürze einschalten werden. Wir möchten uns an dieser Stelle schon einmal ganz herzlich bedanken, dass Sie heute Discover Airlines für diesen Flug gewählt haben, wünschen Ihnen einen schönen Aufenthalt und gegebenenfalls eine gute und sichere Weiterreise und hoffen Sie bald wieder an Bord eines unserer Flugzeuge begrüßen zu dürfen. Das Wetter aktuell 24 Grad bei einer leichten Bewölkung. Vielen Dank für Ihre Aufmerksamkeit und wir hoffen Sie bald wieder an Bord begrüßen zu dürfen. Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon from flight deck. This is your captain speaking. We will soon start our descent towards Tampa with a remaining flight time of around 40 minutes. The weather over in Tampa, currently 24 degrees with a few clouds. We would like to thank you very much for being our guests today. Hope you have enjoyed the flight as much as we did, and we look forward to welcoming you again on board of one of our flights. Thank you very much for your attention, and we wish you a nice and safe onward journey. Okay, here we are. So that is pretty much everything done that we needed to do. Then I'd say let's go ahead with the approach briefing, please. Okay. So, the arrival is going to be the Dates 1 arrival for 19 right, MSA 2700. We plan the ILS approach, and that one goes down to a minimum of 230 feet. The go-around trajectory is, as far as I remember, didn't have the chart available right here, straight ahead to 500 feet, and then a right-hand turn direct St. Petersburg, climbing 3000. Alright, extra fuel is 12 minutes. Okay, looks very good. Thank you very much for that. The approach will be manually flown with the flight directors on. Landing config full. Stop margin is around 1,000 meters or so. We will use the reversers and auto brakes low in order to vacate either the first or the second exit to the left. Hotspots for taxiing, it's a pretty tight apron, which I would love to show you in the charts right now, but maybe we get there over the course of the remainder of the flight. So it is a pretty tight apron, gotta make sure that we end up on the correct gate. Our gate is going to be 87 Whiskey, Juliet 87 Whiskey. So make sure that we actually enter the Whiskey line, which is the dashed one, going somewhat across onto the gate, which is the only one where we actually fit onto. I don't have any specials on non-standards over here. Do you see any threats for the arrival? Nope. Beautiful. Well, it's been somewhat of a long flight. 10 hours in the air, which means we're around 12 hours on duty already. So maybe being a little bit tired is a possible threat here. Even though I gotta say that I'm personally fully awake and completely happy here. Okay, do you see any threats? No? Okay, nothing miscellaneous. That's our briefing complete. And then I'd say we can go ahead and speed the flight up a little bit. We're around half an hour before landing, so let's get our guests seated as well. Seatbelt signs coming on. And then I see you all as we're getting a little bit closer to our destination airport. Down at 10,000 on the approach into Tampa. Let's go ahead and continue the descent down to 6,000 over here. And we are on the local QNH already, which we can just verify one more time. But it looks like the weather is still current, so 2994, 180 at 8, 24 degrees it is indeed. Okay, excellent. So we're passing 10,000, lights coming on, signs on, constraints, LS. And the same on the other side as well. Destination EFOP below min. Nope, most definitely not. Alright, we do have GPS primary and the mode selector is a norm. Excellent, so that looks pretty good. Now let's go ahead and do the approach checklist, please. Barrow reference, QNH 299R4. Seatbelts on, minimum, Barrow 230, auto brake, low, engine start selector, norm, approach checklist completed. Very good. The sun is slowly getting down over here. But this is something I really like about those westbound flights going into the United States. You just land in daylight when you come from Europe. And that is really something that I appreciate a lot. It is rather late. By now, home in Germany, it would be like close to midnight. But it's so much easier to stay awake when you have daylight outside. It makes it a lot easier. A lot. In the meantime, quick look outside. I really like flights to Florida as well. I really do like them. Miami is of course a favorite. Orlando is really good as well. And of course the others are as well. Okay, going right into the sun. Let's get that shade down one more time. So, 230 knots. Well, that restriction looks a little bit early. We only got to meet it over there at Iqbal, but hey, that's fine. In any case, we'd go into a radar vector any moment now anyway. So let's do heading 260, descent 3000. Thrust idle, open descent heading. And then extend the center line, please, from Nara. So, Mara 233, no, that's not correct. Normally it should fill the radial in by itself. Do we have charts by now? Well, otherwise we can always take the runway. 19 right, heading 182, that means radial in 002. Yeah, that looks about right. Okay. Full heading. Heading. Nope, you don't accelerate anymore, my friend. You stay exactly where you are. 230. Okay, we will need a little bit of speed brake to get it down. The A330 definitely doesn't descend that well. Around 1,000 feet a minute. Pretty normal. But with a speed brake you can easily double that. Okay, now the big question. What's our ILS frequency? Because it does have some problems auto-tuning. But for that, some charts would be really helpful. Well, I've got to use my real-world charts then. And the frequency should be 108.5. So, RATNAV 108.5, and that should of course come with a slash. Alright, final approach course 187. Interesting that it says 187 on the chart, because that explains why that line over here isn't exact. Okay, spoilers coming back in. Let's do that radial indirect one more time. So, Mara, and then we take 007, like that, and that's the real extended center line here. That's looking a lot better. Okay. So, activate approach phase, and manage speed. 18 miles out, good timing to start our deceleration, and then turn left, heading 210, cleared ILS, 19 right. Cath dual, autopilot 1 and 2, glide slope localizer blue. So, the wind is directly cross, speed out star, flaps 1. Speed checked, flaps 1. Lock star. So some people are asking me about the sounds every now and then. And I gotta say, at the moment, the sounds are a little bit disappointing. Overall, the package doesn't seem too bad, but right now, the wind sound is missing. I don't know. Right now, there's just too little sounds in total. Okay, let's do 180 over here. Here we go. Okay, definitely gonna keep those sunshades for the time being, but milady, you can stow those tables, please. Lock. Okay, wonderful. The airport is in sight on the 12 o'clock. We've just gotta hope that the textures are gonna load in time. And here's a little bug on the A3 on MSFS 2024 in general. Look at that. Our pitch should be about 9 degrees at the moment, and we are just around at 4. The simulator seems to have real trouble with the lift generated from slats only. It needs the flaps in order to get realistic pitch and power settings. I have been in contact with iniBuilds on that one, and they told me with the current version of the sim, it's just impossible to get that right. Okay, glide slope star, go around altitude 3000 set. It should turn white, by the way. Okay, manage speed. Glide slope. Okay, let's go ahead and do the rest manually. Checked. Flaps 2. Speed checked. Oh, that was the wrong direction. Here we go. Flaps 2. Gear down. And here we go again, typical, let's try to slow down an A330. Which, as you can see, really isn't all that easy. Okay, flaps 3, speed checked. Flap 3. And flaps full, speed checked. Flaps full. Looking fantastic, isn't it? Okay, what about the cabin? Checked. Let's add a little bit of power. Now we're at 1000. We've got the power, the speed is within limits. Stable. Just. Only thing we're missing here is the cabin, but I think that's a bug, that's why I'm not really acting on it. Yeah, look at that. You press the call button, they just forgot it. Alright, landing checklist, ecam memo, landing no blue, landing checklist complete. Okay, just load me proper rub my textures, please. That would be tremendous. Land.
300.
Checked.
200. Minimum.
Continue.
100. 50, 40, 30, 20, 10.
Okay, up boogie. forward boogie, and nose wheel, and of course no runway textures, because why not? Okay, spoiler, reverse green, decel. 70 knots. Alright, and off to the first exit. Then let me just go ahead and start that APU already. Alright, welcome to Tampa, everyone. I sure hope you enjoyed this one. Now let's just hope that they didn't put any AI on the only gate where our aircraft fits into. No, I think this is looking okay. Okay, so runway is vacated. After landing checklist. Radar and predictive wind shear off. After landing checklist complete. So 85, 86, then we take the dashed line over here, 87 whiskey. Okay, lights off. Alright, APU avail, shut down engine 2. No marshal alarm. Can we see anything down here? A330? Not really, huh? Well, it doesn't matter, we'll just park it somehow. Okay, I think this should be fine, kinda. So, cabin crew, all doors in park. $10 hours and 34. Not too bad. Really not too bad. 7.4 tons of fuel on board. That's quite a realistic value. So we can say, despite all those predictions, the aircraft has been just fine in terms of the actual usage. Parking checklist, please. Parking brake or shocks, brake set, engines, off, fuel pumps, off, parking checklist complete. So, after every flight, or after every ETOPS flight, we do check the IRSs, make sure that they have been within limits, then we go ahead and check the fuel distribution and the usage, because it can easily happen that one engine uses a couple hundred kilos more than the other. That would be totally within the expected numbers, but everything's looking good so far, and with that I'd say welcome to the United States. Now let's go to the Bahama Breeze and have some proper dinner before we go to the hotel and then fly back, well, unfortunately some 24 hours later. Okay, well, ground power, no, we don't actually get those in the US. Alright everyone, here we are. I hope you enjoyed this flight. Give me your feedback in the comments below and let me know if you want me to do more long-haul flights on the Airbus A330. For now, thank you very much for watching. I do hope that you have all enjoyed this flight. Last but not least, as I'm sure the question is going to come up, which scenery did we use over here in Tampa? It's the one from Vertical Sim. Officially not compatible, but if you just copy-paste the community folder, I really see no reason that would make it incompatible. It's working great. So, thank you very much everyone. As always, be sure to like, comment and subscribe, and if you really love what I'm doing on this channel, I would appreciate a small donation through the Buy Me Coffee link in the video description below. Thank you for watching, and see you all again on the next one.